Okay, our second game today, in this little indie stream, is a game called Smol Birb. This is another itch.io game that I found. Let me look at the description on this one. So, Smol Birb, it just says, take time to travel along with Zyablik, a small bird who is desperately searching for missing stars. Will you be kind to everyone you meet along the way, or ignore them and their wishes? It's up to you. The average playtime... There are multiple endings on this one based on your choices. We're only going to do one playthrough today. Maybe we'll come back to it. We'll see how the game is. The average playtime average is about 30 to 40 minutes. It comes in a few different languages, so there might be a translation thing. Like, the English might be kind of wonky, which is fine, but I'm sure we'll get by. And again, this is another free-to-play itch.io game, and the art on the itch.io page is great. So, this will be interesting. Let me just look at the settings before I start, just in case there's anything I need to change. We're in English, which is important. That's fine. We'll go into start. So it's almost 5 o'clock my time, so this and then the check-in on Steve might be the end of the stream. In the darkness of infinite space, on a small asteroid, so small that you can get around it in 10 minutes or in 5, walking at a good pace, lives Zyablik. The asteroid is far, far away from other human settlements. The nearest living creatures are thousands of kilometers away in the constellation of Sagittarius. There are no major trade routes here, and rockets pass by only once in a while. If anyone does end up here, those are the explorers of the new worlds and civilizations who boldly go where no man has gone before. Sometimes they stop at Zyablik's to rest and leave him food and flower seeds in gratitude. Every morning Zyablik wakes up, makes his bed, and waters his flower garden. Then there is time for daily cleaning. He sweeps the stones and the stardust scattered by the cosmic winds away from the asteroid. Okay. Am I supposed to... click on something? After lunch, he impatiently looks up at the sky because up there, on an invisible path, so old that it only exists in memory, large male fish pass by with their mouths full of envelopes. Oh, okay. No one knows where they came from or where they are going, but the fish diligently do their job, and each envelope finds its recipient. Male fish never make mistakes or get lost in the darkness. Oh, male fish. And each day one of these fish comes close to Zyablik's small asteroid, leaving on his doorstep a tiny snow-white square envelope with a heart drawn on it. He's always looking forward to this moment, because he knows that somewhere far away he has a friend who sends him a message every day, tells him how she is doing, and what stars are out in the sky today. One day, he would pack up and come to her for her birthday, and he has promised, but the letters have been enough so far. Oh, look at all the male fish. And Zyablik was happy. Okay. But one day, no letter was brought, and no letter was brought on the next day, or even the week after. Zyablik began to worry. He waited and waited for the fish to pass by so he would get a line from the distant soulmate to hold in his hands. But there were no letters. That very day was approaching, the day when he promised to appear before his lady friend. Zyablik was waiting for the right moment, and it finally came. He's ready. It remains to wait for one single postman, at least. However, day after day, the sky remained empty and lonely. We got a Pikachu calendar in space! Okay, I assume I can... Oh. Oh. Like, the cosmic sky glows through the window. The room glimmers with the soft, goldish light of lamps. Their rays gently lick the warm-looking blanket. The table littered with envelopes, the wooden floorboards. The shadows on the walls resemble strange, unseen animals. Glances at the calendar on the wall. Surprised Pikachu face. Almost all the calendar dates are crossed out. One square is left empty, and the next is circled in red. Jumps off the bed, which creaks under his weight. Rubbing his eyes, he softly shuffles to the calendar and picks up a marker to sadly cross off the last day. This better not be super depressing, just gonna say. So today is the day. Maybe I should try it one last time. There have been no male fish for a long time, but I shouldn't lose hope, should I? What if I get lucky? Turns to the mirror, flattens the folds of his poncho, and smooths his ruffled feathers. Oh, I have choices. What should I put on today? Put on the cup, put on the blanket. Or the bucket. Boy, I can't read. Bucket or cup? Let's go with cup. Okay. The cup slides slightly to the left, giving him the perfect charm. Well, it's time to pack up. The most important thing is not to forget that which matters most. Approaches the table. All the letters are made of different types of paper. Some of the pages are ordinary and some are dense and colored with printed images. All of them are signed carefully and each one has a stamp on it. Folds the sheets neatly. The letter on top is unsealed, and you can see the edge of the sheet with the text on it. The letter is completely unreadable. Does anyone understand bird language? If so, we'll leave a full printout of the text below. Perhaps you'll be curious and know what the anthropomorphic birds are chirping about. Here it is. Oh, it's freaking Morse code. Well, if anybody wants to decode some Morse code real quick in chat, because I'm not doing it right this moment, maybe later. Okay, so let's hide it. Slowly binds the letters with a satin ribbon, hides them inside a pocket under the poncho, out of public view. Better safe than sorry. Losing stuff is not what you want to do on a trip. Look out the window, slightly lifting the curtains, which are decorative rather than convenient. The sky outside the window has changed its color to quite a fancish hue, and the time is slowly but surely approaching the lunch mark. The stars in the sky shine brighter than they usually do at this time, as if they have just had a good meal and are now resting. Pulls the door handle and goes out onto the porch. His nose fills with the pleasant scent of flowers, slowly swayed by the cosmic breeze. An embarrassment of riches. There are Aldebaran pimpernels that taste like cheesecakes, theta scale bluebells that imitate all kinds of sounds, and Cardassian succulents that change their hue due to that of the eyes looking at them. Invisible at first glance, alone among all these flowers, hides a delicate earth plant on a thin stalk. A chamomile. Or chamomile, depending on your region, I guess. It does not have bright, huge petals or magical properties, but it attracts with its fragile beauty. Gently runs his hand along the petals, squatting by the chamomile, and then carefully digs out the flower and transplants it into the nearest flower pot. Joyfully raises the flower pot above his head. His eyes are shining. Great, the perfect gift for the lady friend is found. Everything seems ready, but the most difficult thing remains, to wait for someone to pass by the asteroid, and then everything will be like clockwork. Approaches the swing and gently pushes it. The swing moves slowly back and forth. Sat on the swing and raises his head to the sky, barely swaying his legs. The creak of the swing is so soothing. It creaks as if it's telling amazing stories about love and friendship, about huge space lions competing in a battle for the throne, while a young man with a braid annoys the teacher with questions about life, death, and space. Okay, so we're talking about Star Wars, and we've got a Kermit the Frog. While the stars collide, setting off fireworks of tiny sparks and igniting black holes. Snuggles against the gold pipe of the swing and nods, clutching his flower pot with a plant. It will all work out. Familiar sounds are heard, of dogs barking in chat. At first they seem delirious and cloudy, but then somewhere, far away in the sky, a moving dot appears. Something barely mumbles, but then these sounds get louder and louder, turning into puffing, grumbling, and bawdy songs. flinches waking up from a sweet dream, hides the flower pot under his poncho, and raises on the swing, standing tall with his 2 feet and trying to figure out the shape of the creature in the cosmic blue. He holds his hand over his eyes, squinting. I love having neighbors. My dogs just bark all fucking day because of them hearing people. A minute later, the pop-eyed creature is seen clearly. It has a funny fish tail and a funny cap. That must be the male fish. Little by little, she waddles her way, though she knows the road perfectly to the smallest stars and clouds. As if she could swim all that way with her eyes closed. Hastily checks his pockets. The letters are with me. The cup, he carefully touches his head, is here. The sandwich, jumps up, hesitantly glances at the house. Isn't he running late? Oh no. Do we try to fetch the sandwich or not? No, we're gonna forget the sandwich because we'll miss the male fish. Rushes to the house as fast as he can, holding the cup on his head, and stops somewhere in the middle of the way. Looks at the fish. The fish is already passing the nearest star and will soon be close to the asteroid. Shrugs and goes back. The sandwich isn't that important after all. Hastily returns to the swing. The male fish is right above his head. It's time to swing. Cyblik swings forth. We're gonna swing back. Cyblik swings back. Swing forth. Swings forth twice. Swing back. Release. Flies up, letting go of the handles of the swing. The asteroid is left behind. It is now the only way. The second star to the right, and straight on till morning. Roach. Kiddo, are you alive? Hey, kiddo. An unconscious stowaway on my back. That's all I needed. Unfamiliar voice grunts. He almost knocked me off course, and I lost my cap because of him. Jeez. Holds the fish very tight with one eye open. Look at this face. This is me, 2021. Do you need a special invitation to say something? Tries to pull himself up, almost falls off the fish, slithering closer to her head. The flight wasn't really pleasant, but nothing seems to be broken. The fish suddenly twitches. Flies up and lands exactly in the middle of her back. Crawls closer to the pufferfish's eyes and gets comfortable, cautiously studying the void around him. Looks at the male fish and energetically nods in gratitude. The fish glowers at the new companion. Well, so? Don't beat around the fish. ... Hastily pulls the letters out of his poncho. Carefully unties the bow and forgets himself for a second, letting go of the ribbon. The ribbon disappears beyond on the cosmic road as it gets further and further away. One more second and it is lost in the darkness. Frightened, he holds the letters tight, watching the ribbon flicker in the distance. A moment later, after a moment of hesitation, he turns to the male fish, holding out the envelope with a heart drawn on it and another one with a stamp. The huge pufferfish scans all of the names of the sender and the recipient on the envelope and curses silently. So, you're Cyblik. I go by Roach. Roach smiles, looking straight ahead. You're a little piggy, Cyblik. Another adventurer who decided to cross the oceans for the sake of his lady friend. No please or thank you. You just randomly bumped into me and didn't even apologize. I've seen a lot of arrogant pricks like you, dozens of them. And no one listens to what I'm saying. Yeah, I only saw the dinosaurs getting extinct. Big deal. You'll do it in your own way. Your own way, anyway. Anyway, you've done a bad thing, and you owe me for the fair price, that's for sure. And she stopped talking. Space settlements and a couple of rockets were left behind somewhere in the distance. The stars shone a particularly bright purple neon. Sits cross-legged, twisting the hem of his poncho and throwing side glances at his companion. I can look at the body, I can look at the head, or I can stop. Won't look at the head. Roach's face is looking extremely upset. She purses her lips and frowns a little. Seems that she's about to turn into an earth dog, a bulldog. That's right, a fish-shaped bulldog. She looks like she's in her 30s, or maybe even 60s. You know, these fish. Roach's body consists of many small growths to the touch, small fins, little tail. How could such creature have survived for so long? Rubs his eyes, checks the pockets and the cup for the 100th time in the past few minutes. Nothing's missing. They have a long way to go. The space is very unstable. Its hue and humor changes in a blink of an eye. It can be full of action when the sky is cut by the streaks of rocket engines, and in a few seconds hundreds of stars seem to be the closest thing that can be found in this corner of the universe. It seems that you can reach them with your hand. These realms are unknown and inaccessible, and the two are lost in them. But they have their goals, so they move on. And further, and further. Roach stopped sharply, without warning. Didn't have time to react. He almost fell off the fish, but was able to stay on her back at the last moment. A few letters fly out of his poncho and drift apart. Oh no, not the letters! Terrified, twitches and reaches out for the nearest envelope, holding on to the male fish's fin. Roach catches one of the envelopes and holds it firmly in her mouth. Takes the second letter and holds it tightly, pressing it to his heart. He seems happy. Roach stays silent and then sighs heavily, rolling her eyes. Well, now you owe me twice. Nods, confused, and then hides the envelopes. They seem to be his only concern. You're green, that's all. To throw your life at the feet of some creature, to leave your home, what for? Think of the huge opportunities you have if you are not attached to anything. Roach strays the cosmos with her gaze, chewing her lip thoughtfully. You can make a lot of right and wrong decisions, as they say. When you make 2 mistakes, you still only die once, so why not? Nod. Nods with understanding. Well, it's up to you to listen to a wise old woman sharing her life experiences, or to look for your own cautionary tales. The fish seems to think deeply, and then says, either asking a question or making a statement. If you do a job for me, I will forget all of your debts, and even take you to your lady. Isn't that a grand offer? Tilts his head with interest. Look at the sky. What do you see? Looks around, turning his head. The sky in this part of space is so dark. Not as dark as in the nebula, and not as disturbing as when you meet a smashed rocket somewhere. It feels like a threat. There is no life in here, and there is definitely something missing. The stars. This sky is missing the stars. And planets. It looks as if they have been erased from the map and left the sky empty. So, okay, before I continue. I love this. This is really great. This is a lot of reading for me while I have a bad throat. I didn't know it was gonna be like this much dialogue when I downloaded it. So as much as I want to play all the way through this in one sitting, I legitimately don't think I can. Like, my throat is so dry, and even, like, I'm drinking, like, I have water with me. My throat is so dry, and the more I read, the worse it gets. So I might have to split this one up, just because of how much dialogue there is. Because since it's kind of just, like, click and choose kind of stuff, I don't know if it's going to change later. I don't know. Because, again, like we saw in the description at the beginning, the game is about looking for these lost stars. But if it's basically going to be this kind of click and point and much dialogue, I don't know that I can sit here and do this for like a full hour. Because we've only been playing it for a few minutes. And my throat is already like, eh. So, might have to save this one for another day. I think we can save and continue. That's the thing, is like some of these, yeah, we'll save. So yeah, it's just, if I would have known it was going to be this much dialogue, like a little dialogue is one thing. Like, the last game was kind of a decent amount of reading, but it wasn't, like, non-stop. This one's kind of, like, a lot of reading, and because the reading is the entire, like, explanation of what's going on, it's not like I can skip it. Like, I really like this. Like, stylistically, I'm loving it. I love the art. The music's very good. I like the general plot. The translation's pretty good. Like, I know in the reviews there was some comments on the translation because it's not an American-made game. But really, the translation so far makes sense, so I can't complain. You know, there's typos, but you're going to have that with translated games if you don't have, like, a localization team. And when you're an indie game, you don't have that. So what I might do is I might switch to something that is a little bit less reading intensive. And then we'll come back to this another time. So we'll have this to look forward to on another day. I mean, maybe, like April, you know, I'm waiting for that little desk humidifier to come. So maybe after my humidifier comes, if that helps my throat and my breathing a little bit while I'm in recovery, then maybe I'll be able to do this. Like, I'll just put the humidifier on my desk under my face and be able to, like, read for a prolonged amount of time. But yeah, I just don't want to read myself totally raw for the stream today. So, I might switch over to something else. I have about a little bit less than an hour left that I can stream. So I can switch over to something like Ooblets, where I obviously don't have to do any reading, and we can just kind of play and chill and just have conversation. Because that's the other thing too, is when all the games are dialogue and nothing else, it's hard to like break and interact with chat without holding up the game for a long time. Not that there's like a lot of people in chat or anything right now, but in general, like, it's hard to do back-to-back dialogue games, because even though I'm checking chat and I have chat open on the side, like, you know, it's hard to have a conversation when the whole game is reading. It's one thing when there's like voice acting or something, and it's like when we play yeah, we can check on Steam real quick. That'll only take a couple minutes to do, or like a minute to do. But yeah, like, it's like when we play Monster Prom, like, it's a lot of dialogue and reading, but there's also a lot of decision making, like, back to back to back, so it's not just reading, and there's more engagement with chat. It's not quite like this. So we will save this one for another time. We can do a quick Steam check-in, which really doesn't take long unless something exciting is happening, which I don't think there will be. And then maybe I'll play a little bit of Ooblets just to close out the stream. Like I said earlier, I don't know that I'll be able to stream again before Monday. If I can, I'll squeeze one in, but otherwise this will be it for the weekend. So let me switch over to Steve, and then we will come back, and then we'll play Ooblets for the rest of the stream.